Hey, what's up guys, and first of all, I posted a new series over on Anime King 3. What if Naruto had the Rinne Tensegon? So go ahead and check out that guys, a mixture of the Rinnegan and Tensegon together. And enjoy, I'll be leaving a link at the top of the description. So go over there and check out Anime King 3 guys, and also click that red subscribe button while you're over there and become part of the channel guys. And yeah, yes guys, this is the final episode of What If Naruto was blamed and it changed him. But guys, you know already, don't be sad because new what ifs are coming up soon for you guys to enjoy. I already posted a new series on this channel already, by the way. What if Naruto was the god of lightning? So go ahead and enjoy that as well guys. And yeah, remember if you need to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Making family. And without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, Naruto and his, other half, made an agreement. So he had to move on to the next step. From the information that Jiraiya got, Naruto had to go inside of this place alone. As he pushed his head inside of the lion's mouth, he was surprised that the lions did not bite off his head, seeing that anyone that has darkness will surely be killed. But you remember what his other half said, he wasn't dark, his mechas were dark. Making his way inside the room, Naruto made his appearance. After, him and the fox come to agreement. They didn't have to fight as the fox was going to allow Naruto to use his power. As Naruto didn't see his parents as his parents, as he just saw them as two people that were in here. To him, his parents died a long time ago after sealing the Kyuubi inside of him. The both of them were upset by that. To see Naruto not taking them to be parents to him, as he didn't call them mom or dad. They told him the story however. As Kushina had enough as she tackled her boy into a tight hug. She apologized over and over as she cried. Naruto felt a warmth as his father came over after talking to the Kyuubi. The knowledge of the Irish chain was inside Naruto's mind. A gift, a last gift from his father, as Minato had destroyed every evidence of it while the Kyuubi was attacking, and now all of that was inside of Naruto. He was the only one that knew how to do it and perform it, as he would have to work on it though. But Naruto had something else to go upon, and that was the Kyuubi's chakra. As Naruto was able to transform to the Kyuubi, shocking Mei, Yamato and Jiraiya, as they were surprised by that. But he was in full control there, as he returned back to normal, as he started training. Meanwhile, that was going on, as Madara and Pain was ready. They were going to allow the Alliance's Shinobi forces to weaken themselves, then they were going to swoop in and wipe out everyone. But that wasn't the only big thing that was taking place now, as Hana was pregnant. She was brought to where Tsunade and the other Kages were, as Tsunade wanted to check her over herself, and yes, she was pregnant, and the baby was fine. But she didn't want to tell Naruto now, as she didn't want him to force his way out of there to come and see her, because she knew he would do exactly something like that, and she just didn't want to get him in any more trouble. But once this is all over, which she knew would happen, the both of them would come together and she would tell him everything. As she smiled, she was pregnant. She was happy, yes. Naruto was a man that she loved, anyway. So, this was a happy feeling, a wonderful one. Even though a war was currently going on, she still felt happy, as she couldn't wait for all this to be over so she can tell him about it. So yeah guys, so it's basically that's where left off. You guys can switch across the PlayStation check out for yourself. So what do you say begin this new? Final episode. Naruto was surrounded by the golden energy as wooden vines rushed towards him with tremendous speed. As Naruto dodged each and every one of them with his new enhanced speed, before he went through one set of hand signs as he charged chakra into his lungs that soon turned to fire chakra. Upon opening his mouth, Naruto released a massive flame that rushed towards the wood user. The heat burned the wood, forcing Yamato to release his technique. As Naruto increased his speed, showing that he was holding back the entire time. As soon as he was about to engage Yamato, a brutal kick crashed into his face from Jiraiya that sent Naruto skidded away. Lava release, lava bullet techniques, the voice. Naruto twists himself in mid-air, flipping as he extending that chakra arm from his back to pull him down as he dodged all the lava balls. As Naruto vanished with pure speed, as he appeared behind the Mizukage, senses shift in chakra as she blocked the sword strike before going through one hand-in-hand sign as she gathers something in her mouth. But Naruto simply blurred out of sight as he appeared and threw kunais and shuriken towards her. Mei deflected all of them using a sword made of water as she quickly charged towards the blonde as Naruto went through handstand and gathered ear in his lungs as he slammed his hand on his chest. Wind release, ear drilling projectiles technique. The raging ear balls traveled towards the Mizukage in speed no one thought was even possible. She knew it was impossible to dodge in time or even attempt a defensive jutsu. As Naruto remembered his fight against the one-tailed demon a long time ago and how that technique of the one-tail nearly left the forest. While his was less powerful, it wasn't less threatening. Before the attack could connect though, Jiraiya blocked it with a barrier as a water dragon came behind Naruto, courtesy of Yamato. Wind release sent Naruto spiral shuriken wall technique as the water dragon opened its mouth as a gigantic Rasengan shuriken came in front of Naruto. The wind around the mighty Rasengan managed to hold his own against the mighty water dragon. In the end, the wind sliced through the particles that stable the dragon, forcing the water to clash harmlessly to the ground. Naruto grabbed his blade and shot forward. Yamato pulled out his own blade. Yamato was pushed back, his eyes went wide. He was surprised by Naruto's newfound strength. Naruto focused wind chakra into his sword. Yamato watched as his blade snap in half. A fist came from Naruto's back and slammed into Yamato's stomach, courtesy of Naruto's cloak pushing Yamato back as Naruto leaped towards him and the both of them engaged in taijutsu. As Naruto fired off another projectile towards Yamato, but Yamato body turned into wood. The real Yamato then came out of the earth as he went through hand sign. Wood release, great force technique, said Yamato. Beam of spiky wood suddenly burst from the earth, rushing towards Naruto. 4 limbs appear from Naruto's side as it raised up in the air and smashed the earth with so much force. It destroyed the wooden pillars that came towards him and pushed Naruto in mid-air. As Jiraiya appeared mid-air to knock Naruto down, but his fist was blocked by Naruto's extra limb. Mei, who was feeling left out, went through hand signs, lava release, melting spectre technique. She blew out a massive stream of lava, catching Naruto off guard completely. He was focused on Jiraiya and Yamato who were closer to him. The Mizukage was used to fighting with long-range techniques though. As the attack slammed into Naruto, Mei suddenly realized perhaps she take this too far, but he was so damn to catch off guard. Perhaps she should have chosen an attack that wasn't supposed to melt humans until bones remain. But Naruto was no longer there, as lava splattered down to the ground. The only thing Mei saw was a streak of golden light before she felt a cold steel press up against her throat. She froze immediately as she felt Naruto bleed. As she was surprised as she felt the metal being pushed up against her throat. She knew the boy to be a hunter nin. He must have done this many times before. I thought that neither of us was able to use assassination techniques, Mizukage-sama. Perhaps that rule doesn't apply anymore. Would you like me to use one of my own to ask? Having the fox chakra flowing through your system so freely now, Naruto had another dose of killing intent, the same that the fox gave to petrified people. Mei narrowed her eyes at the threat, but she really couldn't do anything about it. Moving a finger would be enough for Naruto to finish the job. She knew that one of her hunters in AO would act the same way towards her threat. And strangely enough, she was being turned on by this. A submissive side with someone dominating her. So when he removed his blade and deactivated his golden cloak, she frowned. He may be younger than her, but he has qualities that far exceeded the age. Perhaps being tasked with his protection was not a bad thing after all. Naruto was unaware of those thoughts and Mizukage marched towards Jiraiya and Yamato with one thing on his mind. I'm getting tired of this place. I can't take this anymore. Being protected in here when I could be fighting out there. You being here isn't just for you, Naruto, but for the entire world. If they manage to extract the beast from you, it's all over. You know this, and yet you keep thinking on going, said Jiraiya. Right now, the only one that can go against the tailed beast is me. If they decide to use the power from the 8 collected bijuus, there isn't anyone that can go against them except for the Kyuubi. I do remember the third telling me once that one attack from the Kyuubi was enough to wipe out half of the village. No shinobi out there can stop a bijuu using chakra alone. About me getting captured, if we team up against that damn Madara and Pain, they won't be able to beat us. Yamato gave Jiraiya the mantle to handle Naruto with this, but at the same time he was prepared, in case Naruto tried to escape. Jiraiya for his part was looking at Naruto and pondering on what he was saying. If the enemy was to use the power of the collected bijous, Jiraiya had to agree. Oh, probably only a few people could stop it, and that were the Kages, but for the others, they would surely fail. Naruto, go to your room and rest for the moment. I'll contact the Kages about this new development. It is their choice whether we march from here. Naruto looked at the man for a while, debating with himself if he should just leave this place. He narrowed his eyes towards Yamato. The man was already molding his chakra to suppress him, just in case. As Naruto simply nodded and passed by the Mizukage, going to his room. You think he'll resort to force if the Kage say no? Asked Yamato. No doubt in my mind. He may behave like his father nowadays, more collective and mature. But he still have his mother fighting spirit, no doubt. Today showed that he can handle himself against almost everything out there, Yamato. Even if we didn't use our most powerful techniques, we weren't holding back on him. He managed to follow my speed, and even dodge attacks from both you and the Mizukage. If he were to go all out by using Rasengan-based techniques, then I would fear for our lives. Despite the situation, Yamato knew that was true, as Jiraiya was proud how Naruto accomplished so much in so little time. Still, the enemy is quite powerful, not only Madara, but the other one with Rinnegan, not to mention the collective power of the bijous. Naruto cannot face all of them alone, Yamato explained. As the Mizukage approach, then the Kage shall fight by his side. The alliance has its elites as well, Yamato-san. Aside from the Kages, Jiraiya here is a Sanin, and there's Kakashi Hatake, and my guy from the Hidden Leaf. Kisaki from Rock, Ayo from Mist, Naruto from Cloud. Not to mention Naruto himself, said me. Are you saying that you'll vouch for the brat when we speak to the Kages? Mei smiled and nodded, as Jiraiya believed that Naruto has grown on me, just like he did the others. But unaware to him, Mei was thinking different things completely. Okay then, I'll start the communication, but it will take a while. Time skip in the Alliance, main center of action. Even though it was quite far away from the action, it was quite frenzied. The information gathering and sensors were all there, as they were there to relay information to the Kages and the commanders on the field. Two of Konoha clan heads were running most of the show though, those being Inoichi Yamanaka, head of the Inoichi clan, and Nara Shikaku, head of the Nara clan. They provided the communication with the allied forces in the field, controlling a force of 80,000 shinobi against 100,000 strange white creatures should be considered an impossible task, but not to a brilliant man like Shikaku, whose brilliance is only matched by his own amount of laziness. Despite it all, he was able to come up with a suitable plan for the alliance. Inoichi received a message from a place he never thought he would get until the end of the war. It came from the place where the Akatsuki target was being held, Naruto Uzumaki. As Inoichi remembered that this information wasn't supposed to come until the end of the war, they were supposed to keep him safe. Inoichi-san, I can hear you, Jiraiya-sama. What is it that you need from me? There has been a new development here. Could you please pass the word to the Kages? There has been a new development. I need to speak to them. Focusing more chakra, Inoichi reaches teammate Shikaku, as he will need to be the messenger bird between them of Jiraiya and the Kages. Meanwhile, with Naruto. Naruto was meditating in his room, as he was talking with the fox in his mind. For some reason, talking to the fox, no, the fox sounded rather worried. Okay, something is wrong, isn't it? You're not acting normal, said Naruto. As Naruto knew that the Kyuubi usually tease him or do certain things just to mess with his head, but now he was sounding worried and acting strange. As the Kyuubi was outside the cage, he was just lying down. Seeing that you are going to fully go out there and face pretty much everyone, it's prudent for me to tell you of two techniques that will certainly give you an edge once in the field. First of all, I would like you to call me by my real name, instead of the one your pathetic kind bestowed upon me. Naruto raised an eyebrow, but the fox still continued. It's time for one of those boring history lesson brats, so you do well to just sit down. As I believe you know, we bijous were created by the man your kind called the Sage of Six Path. Now listen, because I will not explain it twice, as Naruto did just that. As Naruto digested everything, the legend, the truth behind the sage, as he treated the bijous like his companions, never believing them as demons or hateful creatures of destructions. As Naruto was surprised when he heard the name given to the fox by the Sage of Six Path. Kurama is your name, then. I kind of always wonder why you were mentioned by a number of tales, but I never really sought for answers. Okay, Kurama, so what are techniques you wish to tell me about Naruto asked? The first is one you recognize as being used by your damn father, the Hiroshin. As expected, Naruto was shocked, but Kurama continued. That piece of trash left both you and I, as Naruto could see that Kurama really hated his father. With the specifics of the technique, he said that your perverted sensei had the special kunais needed for it. Personally, though your speed almost matched that of the power your father used, Now, the second technique I wish for you to learn is 1. All bijous possess. And you're probably gonna have to face out there, the bijuu bomb. Immediately, images of technique and the necessary way to do the technique appear in Naruto's head. Its power is measured by the amount of tails a bijuu possess. For instance, if you were to compare mine to that one-tailed Shikaku, I would obliterate him. As Naruto looked at Kurama as he chuckled darkly at the end, seems like there was a bit of competition between them. That was human emotion. Well, he was more human than he thought. Do not compare me to your humankind. Huh? You heard me? Wait, can you read my mind, said Naruto? The fox simply laughed. Hey, you didn't answer my question, said Naruto. The fox snorted. He really was going to answer Naruto. As Naruto wondered, can he really read his mind? As he watched the fox's face turn out into a smile. Now, the knowledge of the Irish Shin and the bijuu bomb is being transferred to your mind. Once you open your eyes, you will know how to use them. Now get out of here. I'm getting tired of talking to you, brat. As the fox lied down using his tails as cushion. As Naruto smiled, as he simply started to fade away. As the fox watched him go with that smile on his face. Let note that snort. Kurama smiled even more, as he found the host that didn't think of him as a negative force, or just pure energy to be used. This alone meant more for Kurama than 1 million words trying to convince someone. The only uncertainty he had, the reason why he looked so nervous, was whether his host could rid the world of Madara Uchiha. As soon as Naruto opened his eyes, there was a knock on his door. As he went to go open it, as the Mizukage was standing there. Can I help you, Mizukage-sama, he said. Well, you certainly can. You left in a hurry after training, and I didn't get to talk about something that piqued my interest. As Naruto really wondered what did she want to talk about. So what was it, he asked. Something about the situation seemed familiar to Naruto. After all, he was on the road a lot, and he went to many passing brothels where he met up with other hunter-in contacts. They had to keep their identity a secret after all. Quick movements and quick bars. He knew when a female was coming on to someone. Well, it's not something I wish for others to hear. So can we talk inside, she said. Naruto nodded as he moved aside as she entered, as he closed the door. The way she walked in the room, it was like she was swinging her hips on purpose, just to antagonize him. As she turned around really slowly. She was a veteran shinobi. She was probably used to seducing people, especially men. No doubt she knew what she was doing. As Mei stopped looking around and became a bit more unfocused. Her trick was not working, as he didn't have that dazzle in his eyes. He was just looking at her with a bored expression on his face. I'm impressed, she said. She watched him fold his arms. I have managed to seduce a lot of high-level shinobis, but you seem to be able to control yourself very well. I'm impressed as well, said Naruto. As familiar as I am with assassinations, your technique is quite effective. But I do wonder why you attempt to seduce me at a time like this. I hope it's not to kill me, he said. Well, come to think about it, consider your lava attacks earlier. I might be wrong about that statement. Realized that she was caught, Mei started thinking about her past missions. Many assassination missions where she went on, using her body as a trick to seduce someone before simply slicing her throat with a kunai. But he caught her red-handed. Hell, she even killed one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mist that was loyal to the Mizukage with her seduction technique. Before I give you the reason, I want to know, how did you overrule my control, she asked. Looking at her, Naruto said no reason to lie. Like I said, I have experience with swift assassinations, and I have this sense to tell when someone is trying to override my senses. Also, I know it sounds weird considering my line of work, but I have a very solid relationship with a kunoichi from Konoha, and I just don't picture myself throwing that away. Well, said Mei, whoever she is, she's very lucky to have someone like you. Naruto felt emotions behind those words, as Mei started to leave. I'll be taking my leave now, she said. For what it's worth, Mei-san, the Mizukage turned surprised at how he addressed her, as she saw him smiling. If I didn't have someone in my life, I wouldn't even think twice about accepting your invitation. She nodded in appreciation. I trust what happened here would remain a secret between the both of us. No one needs to know about it, right? She said. Naruto nodded as she bid him goodnight. Going back over to the bed, as Naruto saw an image of Hana in his mind, playing their dogs. Yes, she was the only one for him, as he smiled at thought. Time skip. Snally was walking through the empty hallway of the commander tent. The 2-hour meeting just ended between her, Jiraiya, and the other Kages. According to the pervert, Naruto has gained full access of the Fox Chakra, not to mention a speed that was relatively the same as the 4th Hokage. Of course, that statement was seen laughable by the members who attended the meeting. Both the Tsuchikage and the Raikage had known the fourth Hokage, and considered the man's speed to be faster than lightning itself. The Raikage even admitted that the only man that was faster than him was Minato. Their opinion got swayed to the side though, when Jiraiya told them about the 3-on-1 battle. So that put them on, well, a bit of a corner side, hearing that Naruto face off against Asanin, Akage, and an elite Jonin. As Jiraiya then told them that he wanted to bring out Naruto to assist in the battle. Tsunade protested. She wanted to tell the real reason why she didn't want him to go, but she could not. No one was supposed to know the truth about Naruto being a father in 9 months. Only 3 people that know was the Hokage, Shizune, and Hana herself. Tsunade stopped walking as she was in front of Hana's door. Tsunade slowly opened the door. Hana was asleep. Tsunade made her way over. As she checked over Hana, everything was going fine with the baby. Turned to leave, Tsunade heard Hana spoke in her sleep. No, Naruto-kun, don't go. You'll be killed. Tsunade felt a pain in her chest, as she just wanted to keep the brat safe. As she exited, making her way out of the infirmary, she saw the Raikage and Tsuchikage waiting for her. She doubted that anything happened in the last 30 minutes, so she was at a loss what they wanted. What's the matter? The time for us not to intervene has passed, Hokage-dano. If the Jinchuriki is going to be fighting out there, we must make sure the enemy is not just waiting for him to show up. I know the moment he steps feet on the battlefield, the enemy will send their forces towards him. The Tsuchikage agrees with me. The Kyuubi will be free from the island and head straight towards the battle if what Jiraiya told us is correct. Therefore, we will be following him. The minute Madara and the Rinnegan users show up, we will cover him. We don't know how Madara plans on using the Catcher bijuu. Perhaps he will use it against the last Jinchuriki, seeing that Nine Tails is the strongest of them. So what do you think, Tsunade? Unki asked. I say let's go for it, said Tsunade. Shikaku has proven quite stable as our tactician here, so he can handle things. Doing if you knew the exact position where Naruto would appear. Tsunade only need to tell someone to take care of Hana while she was gone. Know that she would be there with a brat. She would beat the living hell out of those Akatsuki members with her own hands to keep Naruto safe. Time skip. Naruto had fell asleep as someone was knocking on his door. The amount of information regarding the Hairoshin and the bijuu bomb was quite extensive. That is why he was suffering from a headache at the moment. As the door was swung open by Naruto, Jiraiya saw the boy gripping onto his sword. He seemed rather pissed. Yes, said Naruto, as he was in a grumpy mood. Good news, kid. The Kages approve of you going to the war zone. We'll leave this place first thing tomorrow. The news was indeed good, as Naruto's mood calmed down a bit. Time skip. The next day. As Naruto was the first one to get up, as he was already ready sharpening his blade, as he had on his mask. Naruto was a born fighter. He was not someone to just stay behind and hide from the enemy. And it was time that he put these Akatsuki in their place, once and for all. Time skip. After 4 hours, the ship arrived at its destination. The Jonins already scattered in different directions, leaving Naruto along with Jiraiya and the Mizukage alone, close to the ship location. Suddenly they saw a great amount of shinobis coming their way, as Naruto had already activated the cloak, Kurama's suggestion. Mei and Jiraiya was about to talk to the platoon, but Naruto shot past him and slammed his fist into one of the man's face, smashing his body into the earth. Mei and Jiraiya blinked, confused, but they saw the man turning into a White Zetsu. Immediately, Naruto went on the offensive, not wasting any time. As Naruto fired off 10 mini-wrestling shurikens, the White Zetsu didn't stand a chance as her body was easily torn apart. As he went through another advanced science, Wind Style, Tornado Tunnel Jutsu. The clones were sucked up in the massive tornado before Naruto slammed his hands together, forcing the thing to implode on itself, tearing their body to pieces. The remaining 5 merged together as they got large. Naruto took in a deep breath as he blew out a fireball, twice their size as it engulfed them, burning them away. The Mizukage and Jiraiya were shocked how Naruto took care of a 50-man platoon with just 3 techniques. Jiraiya minded and snapped on something. Naruto, can your clones see through their disguise as well? Naruto nodded. Well then, we have to assist the platoons. As he summoned another 20 clones, send them out in different directions. Wouldn't it be wise to save his chakra, Jiraiya? Neither Madara or Pain have showed themselves so far. Right now, the alliance is lost out there, fighting against each other. The enemy can impersonate your chakra and your appearance, so we couldn't feel any difference as you could see. This way the enemy army will lose their advantage. Main nodded at the pervert assessment. Right now, Naruto's the only one that can detect the enemy within the allied rank. But in the end, Naruto had a mass amount of energy just waiting to be called upon. So we'll have just stay close to him. But I do wonder now, how much chakra does he have after fully merging with the Kyuubi? Far away from their position up in the mountain region, Madara and Pain was looking down. It seems the Kyuubi Jinchuriki is once more showing how much of thorn he is to my plans. It seems our time has come, Nagato. With that, Nagato nodded and they vanished, including the shadows behind them. Something about the boy just showing up didn't seem right to the organization leader. The last remaining Jinchuriki was hidden, but now they're revealing him. Why? Meanwhile, the allied shinobi forces were being disassembled as war was breaking out between them. They did not know who was the enemy or who was the ally, as Zetsu could transform into them. Not even the sensors or the Byakugan users could see a difference. Because of this, many had been killed, believing that the one that stood next to them was the ally. As the battalion leader started to see the mess, suddenly a bright golden beam dropped down in all of the battalion zones. The bright golden light moved like a blur, ripping through the enemies. It all happened so fast, only a few experienced Jonin catch a glimpse of what happened. Shinobis from the Hidden Stone started to flinch at that, and Shinobis from Konoha started to be hit with the nostalgia of that technique. Was it really him? Within minutes, each Naruto clone cleaned the battalion, as he simply sliced their head off with his blade. Meanwhile, Kakashi was busy with a few Hyuga when the same bright golden light appeared, and they were all sliced to bits. His lone Sharingan eye widened. Harushin? Aside from Kakashi and a few, no one knew what was going on or the stranger identity. With his help though, the enemy army was reduced greatly. But this wasn't a real battle yet, seeing that the last members of the Akatsuki hasn't even shown themselves. As Guy made his way over to Kakashi, it was him just a while ago, wasn't it? Kakashi nodded. The only one that can perform Minato's technique was his offspring. It was. I wasn't aware that he managed a feat. Kakashi smiled that his sensei legacy is now being used by the man's son. Naruto's ability to shift the tides of this war, and Kakashi was just so proud. As he saw a few of Naruto's classmates attend to the wounded, as he wondered if they knew just who was it that saved them all today. As Naruto's efforts had been long forgotten since his choice to join the 100 program, many of them didn't even know that he was even here. No matter what happens, I'll make sure to tell everyone that it was Naruto's youthfulness that saved us all. I never thought I would say this, but I will too, Guy. Some may never knew the real truth, but Kakashi would not let this diminish Naruto's achievements. They were about to move away and they recognized Kazekage-san swirling around them. Guy and Kakashi understand immediately as they vanished to meet up with Gaara and Derui. They were summoned to meet up with Kazekage for an unknown reason. Besides that, Tatsumi and Kiba were battling together and they knew who it was that saved them all, including Shino as well. One of the clones stopped and greeted the two before he vanished. Shikamaru also knew and appreciated the clone's assistance. As Choji and Ino was wondering who the Golden Light was. It would be too troublesome to tell her anything now because she would be asking too much troublesome questions, so he didn't say anything to her. Meanwhile, with the original Naruto, as he got the information from his clones, as he smiled at their achievements. The enemy army was dealt with, however, the real enemy wasn't amongst them. Jiraiya and May nodded. Although it was quite an achievement, no, it was not time to celebrate. Madara and Pain are powerful opponents on their own. Not to mention they had the powerful bijous at their disposal. Deactivating Kyuubi's cloak to save chakra, Naruto turned around to hear what his next action towards the battlefield. But he heard a voice spoke. So I guess this is the time for we to finally capture you, Kyuubi. A swirl appeared in front of Naruto as Madara and Pain stepped out of it. Mei and Jiraiya were shocked when the Jinchurikis were also behind them. Seeing their eyes though, one Sharingan and one Rinnegan. But Jiraiya felt something else, other presence approaching the battlefield. The remaining Kages were coming, along with Kakashi, Guy, another top ninja named Kizuki, and Derui. They were all coming. Snaddy and the others landed down. Madara narrowed his eyes around. "We won't let you capture Naruto, Madara," said Snaddy. Madara simply glanced, so they were just waiting for him to show up. The ground broke under Naruto's feet as he activated his golden cloak. Seeing that, Guy started to explode with power, activating the gates. Kakashi activated his Monkey Sharingan. A body exploded with energy of lightning. The diamond on Snaddy's forehead spread across the lines all over her body. All sides of the battle were composed of high-level shinobis. But there was one vital difference though, and Naruto will capitalize on that. While they couldn't kill him, he didn't have that restraint. The most powerful shinobis of this time was going to take place in a battle right now. As Madara and Pain stood there, along with the 7 Jinchurikis, going from the Nibi towards the Akatsuki, as the Jinchurikis were nothing but dolls used by Madara. As for the 2 stone ninjas who were looking at both Roshi and Han, Oniki and Kazuki knew both of them, and Oniki felt a bit of dread that he didn't lift a finger to stop the Akatsuki from capturing those 2. Me, observe Yagura. You remember her fight with the previous Mizukage before she took her mantle. She knew Utakata only in passing. The Raikage looked at Killer Bee and Yujito. In Yujito's case, he wasn't even aware of the organization's existence, but with Killer Bee, he underestimated their boldness in invading his village a second time. Now here he was facing the consequences of his misjudgment. The rest of the allied shinobi forces looked at the enemy with determination. Jiraiya was looking at the enemy with a Rinnegan. It reminded him so much of Yaiko, an old student he trained in rain. Tsunade was eyeing the Rinnegan user as well, but also looked at the main enemy, Madara. She remembered Uchiha Madara when she was a child. Because of the match though, she couldn't see much. Naruto was focused solely on Madara though. No one knew it because of the mask, as Naruto had activated Sage Mode and his eyes now looked like a toad. Looking at her, Naruto felt another presence a couple miles away. This feeling was similar to the one he felt from the 6 man in the same eyes. I had pictured this area to be clean of other threats, but it seems you have someone else hidden. Someone else chakra feel the same as Pain over there. A small silence reigned after his declaration, as everyone else was focused on another threat now. Pain, however, didn't take his eyes away from the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Madara released a small chunk at his comrade Misfortune. Who would have thought that someone would be able to sense a real one from this distance? It seems like you managed to pinpoint my real location, Kyuubi. But it doesn't matter, none of you will reach that far. Jiraiya and Tsunade looked at each other as they nodded briefly. They would be peering up against him and hopefully end it quickly. Even if there were 6 of them, Jiraiya and Tsunade could handle them. Naruto simply smiled. As a hunter ninja, he couldn't help but smile, as he was no facing Konoha, oldest missing nin. He could only imagine how thrilled his boss would be to face the man himself, as Naruto deactivated his Sage Mode, as he hadn't tried to mix it yet. As he activated his golden cloak, quickly speeding through handslide, wind style, ferocious hurricane technique. Naruto vanished and appeared right in the middle of the enemy force before releasing the mighty blast. The enemy all jumped away quickly, not wanting to get hit. There was a massive crater there, as Naruto saw that he was now face to face with the swirling mass Madara. As Naruto saw that he had one Sharingan and a different other eye, like the others. He also had a fan on his back, for what Naruto did not know the purpose, probably a fighting fan. So foolish to believe you have what it takes to defeat them in your own, Naruto-kun. I would have imagined either Kakashi or Jiraiya to babysit you, but yet you come alone. Naruto simply smirked. This man was trying to egg him on for him to attack him without a plan in mind. He was not a stupid kid. They're actually quite busy now, Madara. You shouldn't be so easy to underestimate me, too. A lot of powerful enemies have done that, and they're no longer with us. Madara simply chuckled in amusement. Naruto disappeared in a burst of speed, slicing right through Madara's neck, but the sword went right through him. Naruto did not stop though, as a couple of extra limbs came from his back and crushed down on Madara. But the man simply passed through them. You have yet to realize, he says, he jumped back, how futile your attempts are, as he gathered chakra inside his lungs. Fire style. Great. Fire majestic removal, said Madara. A massive fireball was sent towards Naruto. Naruto used his sheer speed to get behind the attack, as he appeared behind Madara, a Rasengan forming within a second. As Naruto drive it, but it passed through Madara, as Madara grabbed him by the back of the neck as he passed through him. A hand then burst from Naruto's back and slammed into Madara's stomach, knocking him away. A smile came on Naruto's face under the mask. At least he could touch him, when he was holding on to him. Oh, said Naruto. So in order for you to grab me, you had to change it instantly. So I just need speed to beat you, don't I? Madara looked rather amused, as it was interesting fighting father and no son. Seems you're smarter than I give you credit for. Know that that is out of the way. We can have some. Madara was cut off as a massive fireball came towards him. The fireball passed through him and exploded behind him, as Naruto was already gone. Madara activated the Eternal Mangekyo in his left eye and increased the speed of his movements. He met Naruto face to face as the both of them clashed. He blocked Naruto's sword with kunai. Naruto was surprised at the sudden change of speed. As Naruto saw the change in the Sharingan, he remembered seeing a similar pattern in Itachi's eyes. That meant that this man was capable of using the same techniques. His instincts proved correct as he vanished, the black flames appearing where he once stood. Madara didn't extend his hand towards him. Universal pull, he said. Naruto was pulled back towards the black flames. He extended extra limbs and pulled himself away. He then launched himself towards Madara, but the man simply turned towards Naruto's direction. Almighty push, he said. A force suddenly slammed into Naruto that was unnatural as he was sent sailing away. He slammed his extra limbs in the ground, stopping his flight path as it tore a huge trench into the earth. But he got to his feet. This man was just full of surprises. But it didn't matter, he will find a way to stop him no matter what. With Jiraiya, aside from Naruto battle, 2 more ears are suffering from extreme damage. The possessed Jinchurikis were battling the Kages aside from Tsunade and the Elite Jonin. The 6 Pains are currently facing off against Jiraiya and Tsunade. So far, the 2 Sanins knew little about their opponents, even if he appeared to be handling the situation well. One of the enemies were able to absorb ninjutsu. Jiraiya had tested that by seeing the man absorb one of his fireballs right off the bat. There was another one who they assumed wasn't human, as he could fire missiles from his body. Tsunade pinpointed the most dangerous one, after a technique that she didn't even see smashed into her. It was the one that looked like Yaiko. Jiraiya-sensei, it is useless to stand in front of a god. Neither you or the Hokage can ever defeat pain. Tsunade looked towards them, as the one in the long hair ran through Hansai and slammed his hand down the ground. A massive rhino appeared. Both Tsunade and Jiraiya flipped through Hansai as they summoned Yamabunta and Katsuya. Jiraiya knew that he'd need to defeat these bodies and go look for the presents that Naruto fell. Yaiko never had the Rinnegan, it was only Nagato. So perhaps he was the one alive doing all of this. He needed to verify what happened, and because of this he had no time to waste. Right now his hands were full with pain, so he had no time to aid Naruto. He was just hoping that the boy could handle the enemy. As Jiraiya started to call his toad summons to aid him, that allowed him to enter stage mode. With the Jinchurikis, one Jinchuriki was hard to beat. Now they had to face off against 7. Kizuki and the Tsuchikage looked up at both Han and Roshi. The both of them were using their first transformation, giving both elite shinobis a workout. The Tsuchikage cursed his old age as he had to fly to evade the lava techniques from Roshi. Han was suited for close combat. That was fine for Kizuki, seeing that he could make his muscles stronger by using a earth-style ninjutsu. However, Kizuki was no Jinchuriki. Darui and the Raikage were both busy facing off against B and Yujito, both of them on their first transformation as well, as Darui was doing best to keep Yujito busy. But he needed to save his chakra for the real deal. The Raikage was charging his brother head on, just like what he used to do when they spar. Mei was facing off against Yagura, while Kakashi and Guy paired up as they faced off against Fu and Utakata. To me, matters even worse, they had a full transformation that they haven't even used yet, so they had to make sure to be careful. Meanwhile, Naruto was sent sailing towards a mountain before crashing hard. After testing the fan, his attack was repelled towards him. Digging himself out of the crater, Naruto got to his feet. Naruto was close, but the man always uses the jutsu technique to always blast him away or use in some other shape or form. After getting up, he saw Madara surrounded by a strange energy. There was a skeleton figure there. This creature happened to be one of the monkey Sharingan technique called the Susanoo. It had the appearance of an old samurai with a rather long nose. I was indeed wrong in underestimating Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Madara says he looked at the boy with extreme focus. The boy's speed was surprisingly greater than his own, even matching the 4th Hokage's jutsu. Madara could not capture him with the Tsukuyomi, since he was synced with the Kyuubi, and Naruto had experience of seeing Itachi use the Amaterasu. Madara could be untouchable for 5 minutes before he could release the ability, and Naruto was not letting up the slightest with his jutsus. After firing a fire jutsu, the next second he released a wind jutsu devastating the area. So at the moment Madara was badly burned. His Akatsuki robes also ripped and torn. After Naruto created a massive fireball and added a tornado to the mix. Meanwhile, Naruto was talking to Kyuubi. Damn, this guy's tough. What did you expect from the person who just controlled me by looking? But you're still not using my power to your full potential. Why is that? Your full power is my last resort, said Naruto. For me to use it, I must be sure that he's going all out as well. That would be a waste if he is still holding back against me. For now, half of the power is enough. I must find a way to penetrate that shield of his without using the bijuu bomb. Perhaps a full power Rasen Shuriken might do the trick. I'll leave in a second one for the extra punch. Naruto watched as Susanoo wielded the blade. Naruto knew if he was hit by that thing, it would be done for. As he quickly created 10 clones and sent them out. As he prepared himself for the onslaught, the creature created a slash of chakra by swinging the blade. It came flying towards Naruto with tremendous speed. Naruto quickly switched himself one of the clones. The clones and the original create one shuriken Rasengan each as they threw it towards Susanoo. Madara simply snored. This kid was throwing S-rank ninjutsu like they were simply nothing. The Susanoo was hit by all the Rasengan shurikens, forming a massive dome of wind chakra as a massive explosion rippled out. Madara was inside as he could see the density of the chakra. It was slicing into his Susanoo's shield as he focused and powered up his shield. But even with his amount of chakra, he could not maintain it as his Susanoo started to crack by the force. Then many cracks start to appear. He quickly used his time space ninjutsu to get out of there before Naruto technique ripped right through it that would have ripped it to shreds. Time skip with Jiraiya. The fight against Pain was brutal, just like with the fight against Naruto and Madara. The era was destroyed badly. The 6 of them was now reduced to 4. After Jiraiya entered safe mode, they were able to find out that the bodies are connected, as they could dodge without even seeing your position even if you attacked them from behind. That was because the others could see you as well, as the one that had the ability to revive the others was destroyed, so that was a good thing for them. As Tsunade's super punch had taken out the one with the long hair, as Katsuya had used her acid to get rid of the summons. Now stood only Yaiko and 3 more. Pain was surprised that he managed to destroy 2 of his bodies. Countless times he slipped behind one of them, but the other quickly moved to defend, forcing him to jump back and retreat. The Sanin teamwork was being displayed now on full force. Jiraiya's speed through hand signs his summons started to gather air in their lungs. Jiraiya exhaled an oil beam. Paw spewed fire and Maw spewed wind. The massive wave rushed towards all the paths. The one that seemed capable of absorbing ninjutsu leaped forward as he started to absorb the technique. Tsunade dropped from the sky like a rocket, breaking the ground right behind him. All the stones were sent flying up in the air, blocking the other path's view. As Tsunade twisted her leg with so much chakra in it, she connected to the side of his head. His head was literally blown off his body and sent sailing away, seeing that he didn't have enough time to turn around and stop her. But the moment Tsunade turned back, Yaiko was right in front of her, his hand extended. Almighty push! Tsunade was sent hurled through the air. Jiraiya leaped as he caught her. As Tsunade released the marking on her forehead once again, as her wound started to be healed. As she was panting a bit as she looked over, it was now 3 remaining. The robot path had opened his head as he fired a massive condensed beam towards them. Jiraiya went through hand sign, earth release, mud wall, as Jiraiya created several mud walls, but the attack penetrated and teared through them. He grabbed Tsunade and leaped out of the way as the attack destroyed where they stood. As Tsunade was still healing herself, Jiraiya shot forward the Rasengan. By the time he reached the robot path, the Rasengan was 10 times as big. The Yaiko body rushed to stop Jiraiya, but Tsunade dropped in as she swung towards his head. He ducked right under it as Jiraiya slammed his Rasengan into the robot path. Now only 2 remain. Jiraiya flipped through hand signs. He slammed his hand on the ground. The Yaiko body suddenly started to sink as Tsunade already jumped away, showing their perfect teamwork without them even have to say a word. Maw and Paw then extend their tongues towards the last pain, and the Yaiko body that was still trapped was about to blow it away with another almighty push. But Tsunade dropped from mid-air and crushed the other path. Jiraiya used the momentum to pull himself forward as the Yaiko body came out of his swamp. Rasengan, he said as he slammed it right into his stomach, grinding the attack before it exploded, dealing with the final path as he was sent crashing away right into a mountainside. Jiraiya went over as he picked up one of the rods, as he could feel a presence. I have to go see him, Tsunade. Yeah, he's fighting Madara. No, not Naruto, Nagato. I have a feeling he was the one controlling all these bodies. You go and help Naruto, I'll deal with Nagato. Tsunade wanted to argue about that, but she did not. Don't take too long and be careful. He will be expecting your arrival. Jiraiya saw her rush off quickly. He really wanted to help Naruto as well, but if he let Nagato escape, this war would never be over. And he also felt responsible for Nagato's actions, seeing that he was the one who trained them in shinobi arts. Meanwhile, with Naruto, both Madara and Naruto had lots of bruises all over, and their outfits were a mess. The both of them are at a stalemate. Madara's mask was broken in half as he considers his next step. But unlike Naruto though, Madara had no demon to fall back to for energy. The ones he had, he chose to give the powers to the bodies, so he could fight off the opposition. Madara realized that Naruto was too well versed in fighting the Sharingan to be caught off guard. All of the Mangita techniques were proven worthless against the kid, and it infuriated him, as Naruto was just too fast for the Amaterasu. And if Susanoo was broken down by Naruto Rasen's Shuriken, and the Tsukuyomi was broken so easily as Madara killed the fox, has something to do with that. He decided to call back all the bijous, seeing that none of them were taken down. He didn't know what happened to Pain, so he assumed battle was still in progress. I must commend you, Naruto Uzumaki, and hold your own as long as you have, but not even a beast like Kyuubi is indestructible. Naruto narrowed his eyes at what the man was planning. Naruto, as Tsunade landed right beside him, Madara snorted. If you're alive, that means Nagato has failed me. Well, it doesn't matter, I would have still killed him at the end of this fight. The only downside in this is that Jiraiya is still alive. It doesn't matter though, all of you will die anyways. The moment he said that, 6 beasts landing behind him, creating a massive earthquake. As Naruto realized how angry the Kyuubi was upon seeing the bijus in front of him. The massive 2 tails, and the 3-tailed turtle, the 4-tailed monkey, the 5-tailed dolphin horse, the 5th-tailed slug, the 7th-tailed beetle, and the 8th-tailed Akatsuki. As Naruto saw the others that were fighting them appear behind him and Tsunade, some of them badly hurt, some of them in not so bad condition. As you can see, Kyuubi Jinchuriki is useless to resist. The joint strength of all the bijus, not to mention the power of the Ichiban, is also against you. And know everything at 10-mile radius will be destroyed. I've grown tired of dealing with you all. All the bijus started to gather balls of energy. The shinobis behind Naruto paled as they saw the amount of power being gathered. Naruto took a breath before the ground trembled. The entire era started to shake as he snapped open his eyes. His golden cloak expanded to a coat over him now, with a circular black ball in his stomach. The Alliance, all of them, went up. As they realized they were on top, a mighty giant fox. The 9 tails roar. If it was destruction the enemy was after, then Naruto and the Kyuubi will show them exactly what that word meant. The Kyuubi opened his mouth as he started to gather the energy for a bijuu bomb. But unlike the other bijus, his was at least twice as big as theirs. As Naruto started to push wind chakra into the bijuu bomb as well, as it fired. When the attacks collided in the center, there was a massive bright light that engulfed everything for a good minute. Naruto's protection only lasted until the collision, as all of them were blown away. When everything finally calmed down, Tsunade and others rose up from the ground. Tsunade saw the massive, deep crater. At least half of Konoha could be placed inside of it. She couldn't see the end of it though. They all saw the bodies of the Jinchurikis, but they did not see Naruto or Madara. It was Guy who saw a piece of the Akatsuki cloak and went to inspect. He found Madara on the ground, his legs separated from his upper body. As the others arrived, Guy stared at the man in wonder. If whatever he done, everything, was it justified? The number of life that were lost to one man greed, and now here he is, dead. With the enemy now dead and the bodies of the Jinchurikis there for proper burial, they start to look around, where's Naruto? But neither of them find him. So they start to think perhaps he didn't make it. Perhaps he was vaporized by the blast. Jiraiya appeared after a moment as he saw Tsunade on the ground crying. A sad nod from Kakashi was all that he needed to make Jiraiya realize that Naruto was dead. Time skip. A week after the battle, Konoha was celebrating the defeat of the organization that tried to end the world. Some weren't though, remembering about the ones that perished in the war. Today was the day of a mourning though. Only a select few remember what happened out there though. Naruto Uzumaki, the one who seemed to have been forgotten, sacrificed himself to defeat Madara Uchiha and the Akatsuki. He was a true hero in the eyes of the ones that knew. In the end, like his father, Naruto sacrificed himself for the greater good. Kakashi was currently at the memorial stone, looking at everyone that he lost. Obito, Ren, all of them. Tsunade was at the office, looking at the reports about the war. Jiraiya was there as well. Tsunade's eyes were dull, lifeless. No one could blame her though, after everything. Even if he wasn't inside the village constantly, she always knew that he was out there, but now, Jiraiya was much better. Today, with the pain of losing Minato, Sarutobi, Jiraiya did his research. But now, he didn't feel like it. The talk he had with Nagato and Konan did little to appease the responsibility he felt now. After he stopped Konan from attacking him, he had heard from Nagato that he hated Konoha because Hanzo had sided with Danzo to kill Yaiko a long time ago. Jiraiya had vouched to look into this. Too bad that he was dead now. Or Jiraiya would walk inside of the root hideout and demand answers. The hidden villages has decided to re-innovate the Pact of Neutrality. Tsunade wanted a peaceful pact, but Now that the enemy was gone, it wasn't, well, doable. Just a neutrality pact to not attack each other. While it was fragile, well, it was better than before, as they can run co-op missions between two villages, and they won't kill each other. Inside the Inazaka residence, Tasumi and Kiba are doing their best to console Hana, as she broke down completely. She was carrying her to child and now she heard about what happened, as main Jutsu was crying as well. Tasumi and Kiba were busy, being shouted at Hana that she wanted to be left alone, but they knew that she was feeling a lot of pain right now. As she made her way towards the garden, suddenly, a toad appeared, wearing glasses. To her surprise, the toad opened his mouth and he had a scroll in it. As Hana had hope, praying that something happened, and Naruto was alive. She read the scroll, her eyes widened, as she quickly went to get some ink and write a note to herself. Meanwhile, in an unknown location, Uzumaki Naruto, presumably dead, was currently readjusting his outfit. Well, he had to thank Mizuki for what he did a long time ago so he would learn the shell clone jutsu. So he used a clone to escape the explosion, leaving a clone behind, and faked his death. A part of him believed that it was better to just go to Konoha and take care of Hana or his son or his daughter. However, the world was still filled with many enemies. So in day now, a new Akatsuki would rise once again, and Naruto wouldn't have had any of that. He was alerted to the little toad presence as he picked up the scroll. Naruto-kun, it filled my heart with joy to know that you're out there alive. I don't know what I would do if you were truly dead. I understand that you have to rid the world of criminals to keep us all safe, she said. So long as you keep on sending me these letters and meet both me, your son or daughter, from time to time, I look forward to the time when you don't need to be out there hunting missing links, so you can return and we can be a family once more, like you requested. I told Kakashi, Tsunade, Jiraiya, my mom and Kiba, and tell them to keep quiet about it. Remember, I love you all my life, and I can't wait for a child to be born. Be safe and return to me. As Naruto smirked behind his mask, as he was glad that she understood. So, are you ready to resume your duties? Naruto turned towards the commander. Naruto nodded. Then welcome back to Konoha, Hunter Nin Division. Time skip. 3 years later. 3 years since the battle. The event that happened was just a minor scuffle with some mutants. But the moment mutants caused anything, they were killed. Few hours later, there was a major concern about what happened to the bijoos that were released because of the fight. The usual theory was, since they were made of engine, it wouldn't take long before they were reformed somewhere else. But Tsunade came up with the idea to seal them in a place where Naruto had trained with Jiraiya and Yamato and Mizukage. Once there, none of them would be able to escape. The Tishikage was a bit reluctant about it, but conceded in the end. The elemental nations then reached a, well, peace of neutrality. In Konoha, not much have changed, as most of the Genins from Naruto old class had taken on Genins themselves now, seeing that they were Jonins. Sasuke had been released. By the end of 5 years, his mind will be scanned by Yamanaka to see if he is still a flight risk. If not, his chakra will be released slowly to see if it was safe to give him all of it. They had to scan him first though. Surprisingly though, he was at ease, now that Itachi wasn't amongst the living. As such, he became more open to others around him, seeing that he didn't have to carry any more malice. And surprisingly, he started to date a kunoichi. Not any of the friend group though. Sakura was angered by this, but Sasuke didn't really care. The rest was living their life and spending time with their loved ones. After the war, a good number of couples were formed. Tsunade actually accepted a date from Jiraiya, and things were going well. Seems like they were going to get married. Tenten and Neji got married, with the ceremony being conducted by Hayashi. Anko had practically raped Aruka once, and strangely enough the man enjoyed it. They got engaged 1 month later, and now Anko was expecting a son. Choji and Ino were dating, but they haven't declared to the world that they were boyfriend and girlfriend yet. Shikamaru was still single because the last couple of dates he had, they were just too troublesome. Same with Lee, but he was the one girl thought was too troublesome to handle. Some say that he's only focused on getting Sakura for a date now. Kiba and Hinata had wanted to agree to be each other back up. None of them got together with anyone by the end of the 3 years. Since neither of them found anyone, they were a couple now. Shino ended up marrying within his clan. Kakashi and Gaara remained single up until now, but there was a rumor that Kakashi was, well, seeing Shizune. Kurenai had Asuma's child. She was happy on her own. Currently, she was inside the Inazaka compound with Hana and her son, Minato Inazaka. Kurenai was amongst the few that knew. Minato had blonde hair and blue eyes just like his father. The Inuzaka birthmark was clear, below his eyes, and there was one whisker marks on each of his cheek. The kid was a bundle of energy. He even managed to tire the dogs out. While looking at her bundle of joy, Hana was happy. Today he was coming back. Time skip at the gate. Something flashed into view. It was none other than Naruto himself, in his usual black uniform, with a bit of a change. Strapped around his neck was a red scarf, similar to Konohamaru's blue one. Also, like Jiraiya, he had a giant scroll strapped on his waist. Inside of the scrolls were proof of his skills, as he had cleaned the bingo book completely. That contained mutants from all over the elemental nations. The ones from outside of Konoha, Naruto had already captured and received their bounty. I can't believe it's been 3 years already. Time really flies when you're having fun, hunting no missing names. It does indeed, but I'm still baffled by how long it took you to defeat that last missing name from Konoha. You managed to defeat Madara Uchiha, and you create a wind jutsu that surpasses 14 speed, but you take more than a minute to defeat a low-class Chunin. And before you say that he was one of your classmates in the academy, I don't want to hear it. You could have finished him off before you even know that someone was there. The guy happened to be a known acquaintance, okay? He was just so bad I felt pity on him. You don't have to mope every time, you know that, right? Said Naruto. Be gone from my sight. Yes, boss, said Naruto. The breeze ruffled a bit before Naruto was gone. To those around, it was nothing but a blur. In an instant, he appeared inside the Inuzaka clan compound, as it surprised Kurenai and Hana. Hana didn't waste any time though, as she leaped towards him as he caught her. She quickly pulled away his mask. There was little need for words since they exchanged letters all the time. He was now home. As Naruto hugged her as he looked down, big blue orbs were looking at him confusedly. Minato narrowed his eyes. He was a smart boy for his age, and he already connected the dots. Hello Minato-kun, do you know who I am? As he remembered a picture his mother showed him. Dad, is that really you? As Naruto smiled, not expecting the boy to leap, tackling down to the ground. As Tasumi smiled, her family was now complete once again. She was happy that her son-in-law came back to her daughter safe. When Tasumi heard about Naruto's plan, she was concerned. But after realizing that Naruto was perhaps the strongest person in the elemental nations, she knew that he would be okay. As she looked at the Lord scroll on his back, so did you manage to do what you set out to do? Yeah, the bingo book is now non-existent, said Naruto. Tasumi smirked at that, as Naruto spent a long time with his family. Time skip. Tsunade was doing her paperwork, when suddenly, one of the papers fluttered. The windows were closed though, as she saw the red scarf. So you finally came back from your little trip? Brat, she said. You know, you really got me worried there. I wasn't expecting to take this long. A couple of A-rank missing names were really good at hiding. Don't you open that scroll in front of me, she said. I know that is a result of your efforts. I'll deliver it to the Hunter Corps, said Naruto. Now, with the bingo book cleaned up, I was wondering about the future and your plans for me. Tsunade pushed back a bit as she eyed him with a smile on her face. Her every wish was for the brat to take on regular assignment with a genuine squad. But with his supposed death, giving him a position that didn't require a mask was ill advice. Well, since you're not supposed to be alive, I know as well as you do, the only possible job for you is Anvu. Naruto nodded as he already spoke to Hana and Tasumi about this, and they understood. As a matter of fact, a spot opened up in a unit that I think will be good for you. This unit is mainly Assassination, but is equipped for first response as well. As Tsunade slid my paper as he picked it up, seeing the name, a small smile came on Naruto's face. Abermi was going to be his boss for now, he thought to himself. Don't you dare take so long to visit again, you hear that, brat? Don't worry, I won't, said Naruto. Say hi to Jiraiya for me, okay? See ya. And with that, he was gone. As a big smile came on Tsunade's face, he was finally back. But guys, this is where this comes to an end. I really hope that you enjoyed this, and I want to thank you all for following me on this journey and just say thank you guys. Thank you for all of your help and your support, and don't worry and don't be sad because new series are coming out and you guys already know that. So yeah, I'm out for now. Thank you for making 3. Peace guys.